This is the common carder bee, or Bombus pascuorum. Just draw it using shapes like we did on the previous marmalade hoverfly. So a circle for the main section of the body, small head, and then thorax. Just building up those shapes. One leg, two leg, couple of antennae, and then they have a leg coming from this section of the body and another leg coming from that section. I'm drawing very lightly because I'm going to use watercolour and I don't want the lines to show through the watercolour. So nice and light with your pencil. Use a 2B pencil, and then they have another pair of legs coming down, one on this side and one on that side. The body is striped, and it can vary on the thorax between a sort of yellowish, reddish, brownish colour and black stripes. Depends which bee you're looking at. And this is yellowish, brownish, reddish as well. I hope we can translate those words. And the rest of it is pretty much blacks and browns. Okay, we're ready to paint. I've watered down some orange, some yellow, some red, and some black, and some dark brown, and burnt sienna, which is like or a burnt umber and burnt sienna, yeah, which is like a reddy browny colour. And mix the paints to your liking. I'm just going to add a little bit of brown, the red brown colour, and the orange and the red together, and I'm going to use that to just paint this area here. And I'm just going to put it, I'm not going to put it too much inside the wing, but I'm just going to put it around that area, and I'm going to use a sort of wobbly line. I'm also going to put it down here. I'm not going to worry about the stripes because you can paint the black over this colour. I'm just going to add a little touch of orange back in places. So underneath the wing, what you want to do is just apply a slightly lighter tone of that colour and slightly broken up so that it doesn't come through the wing too strong. Can you see how I'm doing that? I'm just applying more water to that area of the wing and broken. Just leave some gaps. It's nice to have gaps sometimes in watercolour paint. Then we're going to put a slightly browner version, so a little bit more of that reddy brown colour, and we're just going to paint little bits along the legs and particularly at the ends, just so they will have a suggestion of colour in them, like that. Okay, and a tiny touch around the base of the head. Okay, now once this starts drying off, you can start adding more colour to it, but you don't want to add it straight away because it will bleed. So take some orange. I've got a detailed brush here, and I'm just going to put in some little flecks like this. So you're literally working from the centre outwards and you're flicking, so a flicking movement like this, particularly on this section because this is the furriest section of the bee. This is the common carder bee again, and again on the bottom you can do that on the thorax, just a little bit. This is a bit wetter and you can see that it's bleeding a bit more, just to give it a little sort of fluffiness. And just keep doing that as you add as the paint dries off. You can take some of that brown and do the same. That's a little bit dark, so it's a bit thick, that. So I'm just going to pick up little aspects of it. Just be careful. It will dry lighter, but it's kind of nice to have some darker pigment in there anyway. But you can pick up bits and just flick them in. Can you see how I'm working from the center outwards so that I don't get a chunky mark at the beginning in the center coming out? So work outwards all the time. You see the paint is running off my brush now, so I can just pick up some of that excess paint that I had. Okay, now the next section is the black. So I'm using a, I've got a Mars black here. If you've got a Payne's grey or any black will do. And we're just going to, again, you want to work from the centre outwards, flicking those brush marks so that you can see that was a bit cumbersome, that mark that I just made. So if your brushes are a bit thick, just go back down to a detail brush and flick those colours in. I'm just going to put this on time lapse now, and then you can see the rest of it being filled in. I will do the antennae in the same way that I did this, with black and a little bit of brown, and then I'll come in with a darker brown and put the detail on the wings. Okay, so there we have the finished common carder bee, Bombus pascuorum. Once I put the initial colour down, I just went in with orange to begin with, a little bit of yellow, a detail brush, and just used those flicky marks just to make the colour on the body. Then I used black to darken up the head and the legs, and then I went in with a dark brown over the wings to lift them above the bee. And I put a little bit of colour, faded orange and black underneath. And then the last thing I put on was the hairs on the legs. Okay, so this bee is found in meadow pastures. It's got a variety of habitats. You can see the colours vary between yellowish, blackish, reddish. And it nests underground. So always check that you're not covering holes up in your lawns and places like that, so that they can continue to nest. And they love wildflowers, nettles, thistles, clover. So look after our bees, enjoy painting. I only did this really small. It's on a little piece of A6 paper. So practice away and enjoy painting your bees. See you next time.